So you've picked up or thinking of picking up Albion, and you're wondering what this whole thing is about. Maybe you've seen an ad saying,
Albion Online is a Sandbox MMORPG.
Huh?
Or seen people compare it to RuneScape and League of Legends mix, with all the complexity and grind of the former, and gameplay and toxicity of the latter. Maybe you like those games and want to give this one a try. I think Albion is a great game, but it is anything but straightforward, and the obscurity of some of its basic systems had me bounce off the game a few times before getting into it for real. My goal with this video is to clear up some of the common road bumps you might encounter in your first hours of gameplay, and help with some tips on getting into the main combat side of the game. I will also briefly cover a bit about gathering and crafting, but economy will be more covered in later videos. Like I've already said, Albion is a big and complex game, so there will probably be a part 2 going over any more questions anyone has in the comments and tips or tricks suited for players a little more established with parts of the game that aren't as related to combat. Enough preface, on to the reasons you came here. Step 1, downloading the game. Yes, really. You have a few choices for installing Albion, and there's a short and long answer for which one to choose. Short answer, play however you want, they all work fine. The long answer is that using any platform that is not the native client will mean paying the marketplace fee for any real money transactions. While this does not affect you if you're going the free-to-play route, and you can start off by playing on whatever platform you like, you should consider swapping to the native client if you ever want to purchase premium game time or vanity skins or packs. Additionally, if you have friends that prompted you to get into the game, make sure to use their referral link to download the game. The referral system is weird and works with browser cookies, and it's easy to mess it up. Make sure you clear browser cookies before clicking the referral link if you have ever been to the Albion website before. If you have already downloaded the game and made a character, don't worry. SBI support is usually pretty good and fast about linking accounts to the intended referrer account via the ticketing system. That being said, it is easier to just do it the normal way if you can. If you found Albion on your own, or just want to support me, you can use my referral link found in the description. Part 2, server selection, character creation, and the tutorial. Quick note about choosing an Albion server. Just pick the one with the lowest ping. Technically, the European server is the most fresh, but the experience will be largely the same regardless of server. Play the one your friends are on. Once you've selected your server, it's time to make a character. All of the options here are cosmetic only and can be changed at any time in game with the exception of your character's name, which is permanent. There are no class options to pick here because Albion uses a you are what you wear system, which just means that the abilities and stats of your character are determined entirely by the equipment you choose to wear and can be changed freely while out of combat. What you are able to wear is determined by your character's progression through combat fame, which is just their way of saying experience. Once you're done picking your look, it's on to the tutorial, which you should always play since it gives you free premium. The Albion Online tutorial is actually pretty good, but there are a few small parts that warrant some clarification and advice. First is learning points. The tutorial just shows you how to use them. It does not tell you the importance or scarcity of them. You get 100 for finishing the tutorial and 10 per day if you play at least a few minutes. They will run out if you spend them on random combat fame levels. A good rule of thumb for LP is that it is okay to use on the initial level of any node. Unlocking tier 4 of a type of gear or the first level of any gathering tier is always a good use. Other than that, it is better to save up your LP and use it for higher levels of spec, and to use them on getting various gathering levels up. Even if you don't plan on doing any gathering, it is still important to save your LP and only use it on the last levels of spec for your gear, where it is worth much more fame per learning point, and not waste it on the early levels. Do not turn on auto LP unless you know what you're doing. A bonus tip for the tutorial is to buy an extra mule on your way out when you're told to go to the mountain zone for the second time. The extra mule is for you to sell as soon as you're out of the tutorial. You can buy them here for 3 silver, and people will buy them for a few thousand once you get out of the tutorial. Part 3, Crosstowns. The last step of the tutorial is to pick a destination to leave to. Check with your friends to go to the same town as them. Otherwise, just pick the area that has the biome most visually appealing to you. Once you pick your crosstown, you have transported to the Royal Continent and are now into the full game. Start by talking to the Royal Envoy guy your mission tells you to, and he will give you 3 free days of premium. Premium in Albion is not quite the same as memberships in other MMO. In most other games, your access to content is locked behind membership. In Albion, you always have access to all of the game's content regardless of premium status. What premium does give you is a 50% bonus to basically everything in the game, and lets you pick up your weekly locked rewards chests. We will cover more regarding premium later in the video when going over personal economy tips. For now, just know that it helps you progress your account faster. If you need more explanation on how the different primary game systems work, you can complete all of the missions here, but the only missions that are basically mandatory are the first 2 combat and shady proposal quests. The combat quest gives you Tome of Insight, and the shady guy gives you 1 gold piece. Use the gold the dealer gives you on the gold market to get some bonus starting silver, and between the extra mules, gold piece, and the silver from the Tier 3 expedition, you should be able to afford a set of Tier 3 gear. Use learning points to get all Tier 3 armor unlocked, as well as Tier 3 in your chosen weapon line. If you want to use a weapon in offhand from different trees, the tome from combat mission and the daily reward should get you to the LP threshold so you can mix and match. From here, your options really open up regarding account combat progression. I recommend looking at all the gear options and choosing something that seems fun. I would recommend against wearing plate chest piece, since your chest armor is a large contributor to your ability to do damage, and we are not doing any content that would require the survivability of plate armor just yet. If you want me to tell you specifically what to do, hang tight and I will give you some example beginner loadouts in the next section. Part 4. Building your sandbox. When you are done with your chosen crosstown and have headed up to the closest city, you have finished all of the quests for the game. Except not really. This is a self-proclaimed sandbox MMO. They don't want to explicitly have to tell you what to do. But that doesn't mean that SBI doesn't have prompts for activities that have goal-based in-game systems. There are no further official quests, but there are a few things that come pretty close. First are the 2 meta lines of your Destiny board. Reaver levels are a soft lock for higher tier zones, and will be unlocked by getting more combat fame. And the Adventurer line unlocks mounts, capes, and buildings for higher tiers, as well as unlocking faction flagging at Expert Adventurer. The other main systems Albion Online has for giving prompts for things you can do are the Activities page and the Journal. On the Activities page, you can see the Adventurer, Faction, and Conquerors challenges, as well as the Journal and Daily Activities page. The challenge pages are time-based resetting challenges that fill up the progress bar based on what zone you were doing activities in. On top of this page are the daily activity and production bonuses. From the activities page, you should always have a prompt for an activity that will give you a bonus if you were ever not sure what you wanted to do next. Additionally, there is the journal page, which lists achievement-like goals that give either small fame, silver, or LP rewards, and occasionally vanity skins to spice up your looks. For now though, if we want to progress further at a reasonable pace, we need to get ourselves a bit of better gear. After finishing up the crosstown and making it to the main city, you will now have access to that city's market. If you did the solo dungeon quest in the crosstown after your expedition mission, you will likely have enough silver and fame to upgrade to a tier 4 set of gear.
But Scion, what gear do I pick?
Unfortunately, there is no answer to this question that will always be right for every situation. Due to the way Albion lets you swap out your entire character almost on a whim, the game is balanced under the assumption that you will change out some or all of your gear based on what content you are about to do. But that's not all that helpful advice for a new player. You need a few versatile options and a little intro into why and when you would use these items. As a new player, you will be doing lots of PvE, running away, and maybe taking some 1v1 fights. There are decent choices here, and we will start with the armor choices. Headpieces: Mage Cowl and Hunter Hood. The Mage Cowl has a Fire Breath ability that helps you deal bonus damage to either clear PvE faster or make up for a weapon lacking damage in PvP. The Hunter Hood has a strong personal defensive and Retaliate that makes you take less damage and reflect a large portion of any incoming damage back at the attacker. Armor: Assassin Jacket, Mercenary Jacket, and Cleric Robe. The leather jackets all have Inferno Shield, which is similar to Retaliate on the Hunter Hood, except it lasts longer with a slightly lesser effect. Assassin Jacket has the Ambush ability, which you can use to turn invisible to drop aggro from mobs or to wait out enemy buffs in a PvP situation. Mercenary Jacket allows you to self-heal while its ability is active, giving you sustain to fight otherwise impossible PvE bosses or for immense brawl capabilities in a PvP fight. While a bit squishier than leather, cloth armor offers a huge percentage damage boost. The Cleric Robe allows this to be pushed even more with its Everlasting Spirit ability, which grants immunity to damage in CC for 3 seconds if you take any damage within 1 second of casting. Cloth Armor's damage bonus makes this very good for clearing PvE, and the immunity opens up opportunities for outplaying higher item power opponents in PvP. Footwear: Cloth, Leather, Plate. For footwear, the specific abilities are often more niche than the category-wide abilities, and the choice of foot armor is usually flowcharted into whether you have a mana-hungry weapon, pick Cloth Mana Regeneration Sprint, low mana cost kiting weapon, cooldown lowering leather shoes, or any other situation, healing sprint on plate boots. Now we have an understanding of some decent cheap gear, let's look at some of the combos and weapons that work well with the gear set. Nature Open World Mob and Boss Killer. Mage Cowl, Assassin Jacket, Leather Shoes. DPS on your helmet and the Assassin Jacket to help you drop aggro from mobs if you get in over your head. Leather Shoes to get your cooldowns up faster for more Mage Cowls and abilities to clear mobs. The Nature Staff lets you fight mobs much higher tier than you otherwise could, since you have high sustained damage with Thorn Q and lots of healing out of your W and E options. Using a one-handed Nature Staff or a Druidic Staff with a Torch in the offhand will let you basically never stop grinding mobs and stay at full health. As a healing line, this is also very useful to get spec in if you wanted to group up with friends and heal in the group content. Battle Axe Brawler, Hunter Hood, Merc Jacket, Plate Boots. This build is all about self-sustain. The Battle Axe E has a powerful self-heal with the stacking bleed mechanic for all axes, leading into build that keeps you in the fight for as long as possible, will let you use your damage over time to take out indecisive players or whole groups of mobs at once. Fire Rat, Hunter Hood, Cleric Robe, Plate Boots, specifically Soldier. Rat is what the Albion Online community calls a player that attempts to steal kills or objectives from higher tier or more properly geared players. Ratting is a controversial topic, but it is nothing if not popular, and honestly pretty fun. The Hunter Hood and Cleric Robe give you the ability to stop and reflect the damage of players with much higher item power than you, opening an opportunity to use a weapon that normally lacks survivability or mobility, but does a lot of damage. The one-handed fire staff is a favorite for this build, as with the first Q, the Wall of Fire, and the cast speed passive, you can go full damage turret mode and melt other players with much better gear than you if they don't run away when your defensives are up, which gives you a perfect opportunity to steal an objective, or chase them down with your soldier boots. Now it's your turn to make a build, or just use one of these. I'll make build showcase videos in the future to go over more specifics of how to play each of these builds, and also more options, but now is a good time to buy yourself a flat floor set of your chosen gear and head out to get those Reaver levels up in the adjacent blue zones.
Hold on. What does flat 4 mean?
Okay, so how strong your abilities and stats are is directly tied to the item power of the item that is giving the stats or ability. The IP of the item is determined by 4 main factors. The item's tier, which is 700 for tier 4 and goes up by 100 per tier. The item's enchantment level, which is determined by the enchantment level of the resources used to craft the item, or is increased by enchanting at the artifact foundry with rune souls or relics of the same tier. This gives 100 per enchantment level and is referred to as flat for unenchanted and 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 for the associated enchant level. Craft quality gives 20 IP for each quality level above normal and 40 for the last jump. This is determined by the skill of the crafter that made the item and can be rerolled for silver at the repair vendor. Your specialization with the item and the other items in that item's tree, each spec level gives 2 IP to the item specifically and 0.2 for all items of the same type. An important note here is that it does not matter where you get the IP from. All IP on the same item is the same. 4.2 is the same as 5.1 is the same as 6 flat. Okay, so you've bought a flat 4 set and it's time to go farm some fame and silver. First things first, you need to get Expert Reaver before you can really farm in a tier 5 zone. Head to one of the nearby tier 4 blue zones and make sure to bring relevant gathering tools if that's something you're interested in. The resources available in a zone are listed at the top of the zone map. Once you have Expert Adventurer unlocked, you can enlist in your chosen city's faction. This means that while in the Royal Continent, everywhere not the Black Zone, Mists, or Corrupted Dungeons, you will gain faction reputation and points for doing any activity. The reputation increases in levels and grants you more options to spend your points on and also increases the amount of points you get at each level. Generally, the treasure chests are a good value to buy with your points, as they give both silver and fame tones. Faction flagging makes you hostile to other cities' faction members, but zone rules do still apply, and combat in the yellow and blue zones will only result in knockdown, not death or item loss. Part 5. Fame and Money. There are many ways to continue your early progression as a new solo player, and they have different risks and rewards. Safe. Yellow Zone Roaming. Flag up for your faction and kill mobs and gather in the open world Yellow Zone. This is going to be heavily contested, as this is the most accessible content for the highest safe tiers of Albion. Avoid killing animals in the open world, as they have a lot of health, give much less fame, and drop no money if you aren't skinning them. While roaming around in the open world, you may find a wisp that opens a portal into the mists. Yellow Zone Mists. Similar to open world roaming, the mists are semi-instanced content designed for solo players. There are mob camps here that will give bonus might and chest, killing a certain amount of mobs, but will automatically flag all players in the area as PvP. This is still the yellow zone, so the PvP is non-lethal, and will just kick you out of the mist if you down, so no need to be afraid. Go get some PvP practice. Yellow Zone Solo Dungeons. Just like the solo dungeons from the Mission and the Crosstown, there are solo dungeons scattered around the world. In general, they are poor fame and silver, but they can be fun and are useful for helping get used to the general combat mechanics of the game, without the competition from other players you would need to deal with in the open world. As soon as you get access to Expert Reaver, you technically have everything you need to head to the Black Zone, where there is the most fame and silver to be made.
Most fame and silver? Woohoo!
But not so fast. The Black Zone is full PvP. Everyone under your party or guild is automatically hostile, and losing a fight in the Black Zone means you drop all of your gear you are wearing and in your inventory. The only things you don't drop are your silver, gold, and Eddie items with this funny symbol on the top right indicating that they can't be traded. basically only silver bags and some fame tomes. With that disclaimer out of the way, and you being properly scared, time to show you why it's actually no big deal to go to the Black Zone if you just follow a few rules to stay safe and limit your risk. The in-game safe portal has its own acronym, but we'll make our own. S. Silver ratio. Never take more silver worth of items than you're willing to lose. The generally accepted maximum is 1/10 of your silver, but I would never even bring more than 1/20th. A. Awareness. Don't go AFK in the Black Zone. Just use Journey Back if you need to go AFK. If you look at your screen, you should be able to run away before people can get to you. F. Fast. Avoid staying in the same place for too long, and don't be dismounted for no reason. E. Exit plan. Once you have hit a certain goal, inventory value, carry weight limit, leave. Overstaying when you have more than you are willing to lose is how you'll end up panicking and misplaying if you get into a sticky situation. Now to show you an example of why the Black Zone is not that scary. To get to the Black Zone, head over to the colored portal on your city's map and go through the Conqueror's Hall. From the Portal Town Zone, you have options for which zone to go into. Find a zone that has open space out of the way of any paths to an adjacent zone, and grab the Invis Shrine and head out there. Wearing a set of 4 flat gear will put your gear cost at around 30k. The humanoid mobs in the Black Zone will drop about 950 raw silver. That is silver you do not lose if you die. What this means is that if you kill about 30 normal humanoid mobs in the Black Zone, you will have not only made more fame than you would in any other zone, you will also make a silver profit even if you die. So get out there to the Black Zone and get that account progression rolling. Just remember to stay safe. A fast reminder about the S in our SAFE acronym. For 30k to be 1/20th of your money, you need to have 600k liquid silver. Speaking of silver, once you have a decent stack of it, you might start thinking about how to use that silver to make more silver. First things first, premium. It is both the goal and also the prerequisite. Gathering, crafting, market flipping, farming, all the economy activities in the game basically need premium to be profitable. The prices for all of the materials and products are reflective of most participating players having premium, and gathering without the 50% bonus is very slow and not much money. That being said, gathering is still 100% profit, even without the bonus 50% yield, and there are ways to make crafting and refining without focus profitable by using the city resource return rate bonuses combined with the daily crafting bonus. For the city-specific resource return rates, each city has a bonus for refining and crafting specific resources and items. You can find it by clicking on the dropdown on the city zone map. The refining bonus is always for a resource that is not gathered in the nearby zones, and the crafting bonuses will not include this bonus refined resource. Because of these bonuses, different raw resources, refined resources, and crafts will all sell for different prices at different cities. If you have enough money saved up for a good carry weight mount, there is good money to be made simply carrying raw resources from cities where they are easily gathered over to the city where there is a refining bonus. After covering that, you may notice that having premium makes it a lot easier to get silver, to buy premium again. If you're enjoying the game and your free 3 days of premium run out, I would recommend spending the $15 for your first month of premium. If you can afford it, it will help you as you continue to get your initial fame levels up, and the daily focus will help you pay for your next and future months of premium with silver rather than IRL money. If the $15 is too much for you, and you actually just want as much silver as fast as possible without caring about the rest of your account progression, there are a couple of activities to do. Faction transporting. The main purchase made with faction points are the faction hearts, which are used to make special capes and mounts. These hearts can be used for faction transport missions given by the faction leaders. You will carry the hearts to zones nearby opposing cities and return in exchange for getting more hearts back than you started with. This is a risky activity even though you spend the entire time in blue and yellow zones, because even though you do not die when you are knocked down, you do drop your cargo and can have it stolen by opposing faction players. Low-tier black market transporting. Black market transports are similar, but involve taking items that are worth very little in the royal cities and selling them on the black market in the central red zone city, Caroleon. The black market is a special market in Caroleon where the game buys items from players and sells it to the mobs in the world for them to drop. This is how mobs are able to drop items that are still made by players. This type of transporting has you risking less silver but getting ganked more often when compared to faction transports. There's an invaluable tool to use before you even start any transport or crafting session, and that is Albion Free Market. Albion does not have a market API available for third-party developers, but there is the Albion Data Project, which uses as close to real-time market data as possible. The website Albion Free Market takes this data and lets you browse, select, and customize various crafting transport situations to see what kind of profits you can expect from different activities, to help you get into making your own market moves. They technically aren't doing anything that you couldn't do yourself with an Excel spreadsheet, but it is a lot easier to just use the Albion free market version of crafting pages. Part 7. Practice with PvP. So you have some fame level spec'd up in your chosen gear, you've made some silver, and you're bored of just fighting mobs and running away from players and are ready to start fighting and seeing what the main appeal of Albion is all about. But every time you get into a PvP fight, you panic, you forget half your abilities and get stuck on a wall. There's a pretty sharp learning curve to getting into Albion PvP, and there's only 2 real ways to get over the dizziness. Practice in lower stakes content, and die a lot. Safe practice. We already noted Yellow Zone Mists earlier, and how it is a good space to practice what it's like being in an open world hostile zone. But there are some more low stakes places to practice PvP fights. Hunter Corrupted Dungeons. If you see a red-orange glowing dungeon in a yellow zone, you can enter a Hunter Corrupted Dungeon. This is a PvPvE instance, where you kill mobs, collect chests until you fight the boss demon, and choose to progress to the next level or leave. At the start of the dungeon, you can choose if you want to try to invade other players' corrupted dungeons. This will place you into a queue, where players with similar corrupted dungeon experience, called Infamy, will be dropped together to fight over the rewards of each other's dungeon. In the Hunter Yellow Zone dungeons, there is a pretty low IP soft cap, meaning you don't need crazy gear or spec to be competitive, and you will not lose your gear if you're knocked out. Faction Warfare. When you flag for your faction, you are hostile to any player flagged for a different city's faction. This means if you go far enough away from your city, closer to the others, you may run into other players flagged for the other factions, who you can fight and gain a decent bonus faction point for beating. If you want to try out larger group content, you can also check your faction chat channel to see if anyone is trying to take the outposts or get into larger fights between big groups of faction members. Crystal Arena. Albion has a matchmaking instanced queuable 5v5 arena that is accessible from the drop down at the top right. You can join the arena from any non-lethal area, but most people choose the city. Arena is IP capped and will pair you with people around your rank, so you can get a good feel for how small scale fights work in Albion. The rewards for this content are very low, especially if you do not win often. But it is a good practice and decently fun. Plus, if you do win consistently, you will get a good pile of fame tomes and possibly a nice vanity skins. Lethal practice. The hands down best way to get over PvP fear is unironically to intentionally die. Take out a set of gear that is worth no more than 1/20th of your total silver and run around the black zone until you die, fighting everyone and anyone you see, going into mists, checking overworld chests, and just playing like you want to lose the set. You will quickly notice that you are playing better and that losing is nothing to be afraid of, and likely even make more silver than you lose along the way. When you do die, just do it again and again until you don't feel scared of losing your gear anymore. An easy tip here is to make a loadout of the gear you want to use and just quick buy it when you need a new set, or even buy order a few sets to save a few silver and not need to search the market after every death. Learning to treat all gear like it's consumable is pivotal to having a good experience in Albion. Final tips. Red Zone versus Black Zone. You cannot faction flag in the Black Zone. What this means is that you cannot gain both faction points and might at the same time. I would recommend doing whatever content you want or find fun, but if you're doing overworld roaming, make sure you're getting both your faction and conquerors challenges completed, and not accidentally continuing one when it has already progressed as far as it can be without having the other one finished. If all your challenges are done, a general rule is Red Zone for silver through faction points and Black Zone for fame. Getting scammed. Don't ever trade someone your gear if they say they will upgrade it for you. They will just steal it. Don't accept random guild invites. People invite new players to guilds known as potato farms, where they will have a 100% tax rate and just take all of your silver drops. We will go over finding a guild with people to play with in another video. Duel invites can have stakes attached to them. If you're about to duel someone, make sure you aren't about to just hand them all of your silver if you lose. Other content. There is more content in Albion than I have outlined here. The Rhodes, Hellgates, statics, anything regarding guilds, the list goes on. There will be future video going over what content is fun or efficient for different sized groups, but for now, remember to take a look at the activities page and just try out whatever the daily activity is. It'll keep the game fresh and you will eventually figure out what parts of the game you enjoy most. Closing remarks. If you've made it this far, congratulations on getting established in Albion, and thank you for putting up with me in my first video. Make sure to leave any questions you have in the comments to make it into the upcoming Albion FAQ video. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and if you're on the West server and found the secret code in the video, comment your in-game name and code to win a Grizzly mount if you were the first commentator to get it correct. Catch you next time.